Hello, everyone. Welcome to Touchdown on True Sports, brought to you by Pickups, your everything on demand delivery app. My name is Chantel Alicia, and I'm going to be your host for today's show. Joining me are my analysts, Nolan Kangas, Luca Moya, and Stephen Clennon. Today, we're going to be discussing everything that happened in Week 6 and what's to come in Week 7. So for starters, this was a very exciting weekend. We had a lot of great matchups. We even had a couple of our underdog teams finally get on the scoreboard with their first win, which is nice to see. But one of the most talked about games right now is the Bucks versus the Packers. Like, talk about Tampa Bay, they just blew me away. So I think we're all kind of wondering here, Nolan, what are your impressions after this game? I mean, is this just a bump in the road for Green Bay's loss, or do you think they're going to be heading on a downward trend, like, going forward?
Sure, and I'm going to seem like a bit of a hypocrite here because I had the Packers as my number one team in last week's rankings. I think this is the team they actually are, and that means, not that they're a bad team, but not that they are a great team, right? You think about their first couple wins this season. You had the Vikings, who are awful. You had the Lions, who are awful. You had the Saints, who probably aren't as good as everyone thought they were, and then we had the Falcons, who again are awful, right? So they finally face a good team in the Bucks, and they get crapped on. They were absolutely terrible. The numbers were, absolutely like horrendous for a team that was going into that game where their offense looked, spectacular. You had 201 yards, 3.3 yards per play. You were sacked 5 times. They had 6 flags for 76 yards, or 6 penalties for that matter. The Bucks had 0 sacks, 0 flags. The Bucks just beat them up and down the field regardless of what happened. And I think this is a similar situation to what happened last year. Think of the teams that the Bucks, not the Bucks, sorry, the Packers went 13-3. Let's think of some of their wins against playoff teams. So the Vikings, a pretty good team. You have, they faced the Eagles. They lost to those Eagles. They faced, the Chiefs. Mahomes wasn't playing. And then you face the 49ers, and you look like dog crap. And that's what it sort of is for this Packers team. What couldn't they do against the Bucks? They couldn't stop the run. That was the same thing as last year. They pick up Christian Kirksey. They didn't get anybody else in the NFL draft to stop the run, and that was an issue for them. I think this speaks more volumes of, I think the Bucs, we knew they were going to be a good team, and they showed how dominant they can be with their defense. But this didn't tell me too much from the Packers. It just kind of said, you're the same team as last year, and they're going to have to figure it out.
Oh, most definitely. You know what? I don't like people throwing shade on the Packers too much because Aaron Rodgers is my guy, but the man looked like he had a horrible game out there this past weekend. It was bad, but you know what it really was? Todd Bowles can coach defense, everybody. He might not be the greatest head coach when you give him a chance, but if you leave him to coach just a defense, he'll get the most out of all those players on that defense. Let's talk about what they did. I think they had, 4 sacks. We're looking at 2 picks, 1 forced fumble, and they had a pick 6. They were killing it up there the entire game, and Aaron Rodgers was confused. He was rushed. He was forced out of the pocket. He was sacked in the pocket. He was getting hurt. He was getting tossed around. Thing is, if this Bucs defense can consistently play like that, and Tom Brady can give you him and his Gronk, it was nice to see them reunite for a good game finally. What was that? I think it was 5 receptions for 76 yards and a touchdown. So that's for them to do that and have that type of companionship again. It was great to see it. And if it consistently goes like that for the Bucs, and you can have some decent quarterback play, it wasn't the greatest game from Tom Brady, but it was decent quarterback play. Ronald Jones, boy, run that ball. 2 touchdowns, 113 yards, looked really good out there. If they can have that type of consistency from the offense, and then your defense is elevated like that every game, woo, these guys are going to be super scary. So I think the Bucs are where they should be moving forward. But you know what? Green Bay, you guys have good games like Nolan said against weak teams. I'm kind of worried about where they're going to land within everything going down the road and how they're going to look against some of these stronger teams that they do have to play, like you said, Nolan. But you know what? Moving forward, just get to the playoffs and worry about those things as we go. The next matchup, they're against Houston, who plays that Swiss cheese scheme on defense, so it should be no problem for them to torch them up and cut them down. But I think both teams are headed on the right direction where they should be. I just think Tampa Bay, keep doing what you're doing. Green Bay, elevate your game a bit more. You guys fell off. This was a big loss, 38-10. Not a good look at all. Not at all.
think when you guys make great points, and when you look at this game, Aaron Rodgers was the X factor on why the Packers couldn't get anything going. He's only thrown, I think, some crazy stat like 3 pick sixes in his career. He had 1 on Sunday, and he actually almost threw another one back to back, right? So it was just a poor game from him, but that defense, like you guys have said, they really stepped up. We were hesitant, me and Nolan, we said a couple weeks back about their secondary. Well, they seemed pretty good against one of the best passing attacks in the NFL. And I'm on to you, Nolan. I know what you did. You put them number 1 because you wanted to come on here. You were hoping that they lost, and you got your chance to do it. I'm on to you. I know how you work, and I know that you just absolutely loved it watching Brady and the Bucs just take them apart. But I got to give it to you. I mean, the Green Bay, They didn't lose this game. Tampa won it. And the way that Bowles was dialing up the defense and how the offense starts to click, you just have to give Brady a little bit more time. Everybody jumps the gun too quickly. We're not even halfway through the NFL season yet, and this is how dominant this team can be. 38 points, albeit 1 from the defense, but still 30-plus points on offense. Tampa Bay won this game. They are going to be scary, guys. They're leading that division. It's crazy to see them, going into the year. Is it going to be the Saints still? Everyone thought. I personally thought that it was going to be them. They still have their team intact. This is a new team in Tampa, a new head coach with a new quarterback. He's 43, but they seem that they could still get the job done. Tough loss against Chicago last week. They bounced back with a huge win here against Green Bay. Great team play from Tampa all around. Green Bay, I wouldn't push the panic button just yet. It is just one game. Things like this happen, but if you're Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers, got to get right back to that drawing board, right back to watching film, and bounce back next week, because you get pummeled like this again, it's the same story like Nolan said, just like last season. But all in all, great game from Tampa on Sunday.
I just think we're already talking about Tampa Bay being scary. I'm not scared of Green Bay. I think they're a playoff team because they got off to a great start. But when it comes to playoff time, I don't think they're a contender. I think they're a one and done, or maybe they luck out with a matchup and, say they, and maybe they win the NFC North, or even if they're a wild card, okay, maybe they get, the Cowboys or the Eagles and maybe squeak out a win there. They just don't scare me like the Bucs scared me on defense there.
Yeah, and you look at all the teams in the NFC, like you said, I think there are plenty of teams that can go in there and be like, you know what, I could see this team taking down Green Bay. If you're a dominant team like that, like Green Bay, like we all think they are, you go into every single game, you have no doubt. Like, you would have no doubt. And the fact that I'm having doubts, Nolan, you're having doubts, I don't know how you feel, Steven, but Green Bay in every single game, it's like, I can see them losing this game. I could see them losing against Seattle. I don't see that they're that dominant team like the Chiefs. Like, you look at the Chiefs, you expect them to blow out every single team. I don't see that with Green Bay yet.
I think that's Aaron Rodgers' one biggest piece of kryptonite. You put pressure on him, you pass rush, and you really get to him, it messes up his entire game because his rhythm's thrown off, his timing's thrown off, and he just can't seem to find the guys he wants to find, and he'll try to force it to Davante Adams, and teams have him locked up most of the time, so they're trying to double and bring a safety down, and that's what the issue is. So if it continues where you see a lot of pass rushes getting to Aaron Rodgers, I don't think that this season is going to go as good as people want it to go, especially if you're a Green Bay fan.
Yeah, so you guys made all really great points, and I'm definitely in agreement with you. I mean, we know that Green Bay is a good team. We know that Tampa Bay is a good team, but Tampa Bay, I just think, is really in the light right now. They are doing exactly what they need to be doing, just like you guys are saying. And, Green Bay, yes, they're a strong team, but they just might need to tighten it up and, really buckle down so that they can hopefully come back on top next week. So I guess we'll see how things move forward throughout the season. But while we're talking about, getting back on top, let's talk about Derrick Henry, top running back for the Titans. He put up some big numbers on Sunday. 212 rushing yards, 52 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns with a 40-yard dash time, I think, of 4.5 seconds. I mean, he's got the highest rushing yards so far this season for a total of 588. Wow. 6 touchdowns so far this season. That's an average of more than 1 per game. So, Steven, tell me, could he be the best running back in football?
I'm going to start with this. What he did the other day on Sunday, that was impressive, it was comical, and it was terrifying all at the same time. It was actually really great. He's He's such a strong runner, man. And the problem is, as the weather gets colder and we start getting into the winter seasons, he only gets stronger, man. And who wants to, minus 20 degrees, who wants to tackle that man? Nobody's going to want to tackle him when the cold weather comes. And he just continues to push forward and push forward. I think he was the only running back last year to average 100 yards per game. So looking at something like that, and especially when you have a running back who can get you that that yards after anything, like after any catch, or even when he's running, or anytime he's touched once, he'll get you another 5 to 6 yards after that. Dangerous. But to sit back and say he's the best running back in the league right now, there's a lot of running backs out there that can contend with him. I'll say that. I think Christian McCaffrey is obviously your best all-around running back who provides you not only in the run game, but in the pass game, and he can run routes like a wide receiver. That's always needed. But for me, I'm going to put Derrick Henry a close second to Christian McCaffrey right now, even though Christian McCaffrey is injured. I just know when Christian McCaffrey comes back, he'll produce regardless. But Derrick Henry, if we can add a couple more touches on the pass game to him and really see what he can do out there in the pass game, I think he'll move forward with no issue. But if we look at it at a pure running back, I think Derrick Henry's your guy. If you need a running back to go out there and get you 5 to 10 yards every time out there, push the ball forward, get you a clutch first down on a fourth and 1, he's your guy. For a running back, if you want a traditional running back like the Tennessee Titans do with their offensive scheme and the way they smash mouth and the way they play action, you need a running back who the other team is scared that he's going to even touch the ball. And I think Derrick Henry's your guy for that. To say he's the number one running back, I don't think so. Close second. But if you need someone who plays that traditional running back position, Derrick Henry is that dude.
All right, guys. So I think Derrick Henry is the best running back in football. I don't think it's close. I'm going to go over the numbers here. Here's his last 9 games of last season. Right, take his last 9 games, regular season, playoffs, 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns. That's insane. That is insane. Take away all the games before that. 9 games. If he only played 9 games, he would be the 4th leading rusher in football. Let's look at his last 16 games, a full regular season, right? 2,068 yards and 19 touchdowns. That is absolutely incredible. You think about Adrian Peterson's, MVP year. He had 2,097. He was the first down short of breaking Eric Dickerson's, record-breaking year in 1984. So Derrick Henry was, 2,000 yards, regardless, in 16 games is incredible. Right now, he's averaging more yards per game and has more yards than Dickerson and Adrian Peterson did in those seasons. He's unstoppable. He's the best running back in football right now. Yes, Christian McCaffrey is probably the most complete. But I think another thing we have to look at here, and it's a weird stat to look at, and I hate doing this with quarterbacks, wins. Tennessee wins, man. And it's a lot because of what Derrick Henry can do, because he opens up that play action for Ryan Tannehill, like Luka mentioned last week. Ryan Tannehill didn't look like a great quarterback till he gets to Tennessee and Arthur Smith starts dialing up all these play action plays. So you have to defend, okay, I've got this 6'3", 240-pound back running at me. Oh, wait, it's a fake. And then Ryan Tannehill hits A.J. Brown over the top. They're winning games because of the way Derrick Henry's running, which leads to more plays for this offense. He right now is the best running back in football. I would take him over any other running back. I know it's kind of bold to say. He's that dominant right now, and I think he's a top 5 MVP candidate.
Listen, Derrick Henry, you just can't go against production. And if you want a guy who produces, he's your guy. Pure runner of the football, he is the best pure runner of the football in the National Football League. But what people don't talk about enough is that offensive line. That offensive line, when you know a run is coming every single play or close to it, and you can still create holes for a guy who's 6'2". It's not like he's going to hide behind linemen. No, he's 6'2". He looks like he's bigger than some linemen sometimes when he's running that football. And you still create holes for a guy like that. It looks like he's jogging out there, and yet guys are still trying to catch up to him. That offensive line, I think they deserve credit. They lost Jack Conklin in the offseason. Now they lost Luan, the left tackle. He's out for the year. So that's 2 mainstays on your offensive line. But since Conklin has left to Cleveland, that right tackle spot, Derrick Henry still produces, but it's the offensive line, guys, that people aren't talking about. It's the way that Ryan Tannehill comes home from Miami, comes to Tennessee, like Nolan said. he's able to have time in the pocket from those play action passes because the 5 guys in front of him are unbelievable. No one talks about this offensive line enough, and it's mind-boggling to me. Derrick Henry is running. You know it's going to happen, and you cannot stop him. You have to look at the 5 guys in front of you because you know, and, for like I play football, Miller, and you play football, the 5 guys in front on each side of the football are the most important units on a team. Besides the quarterback, the game is won at the line of scrimmage. And that offensive line, when you watch them, they're pushing guys 3 yards off the line. There's an automatic 3, and then you have a 6'2", 200, and it looks like 270-pound guy coming at you. He's going to fall forward. It's like an automatic 7 yards. Ryan Tannehill has to get 3 yards in the next 2 downs. Honestly, it's a broken system. Mike Vrabel's doing a fantastic job. That defense gets stops when they need to. And going back to Derrick Henry, I think right now he is the best running back in the National Football League. Despite, all the, offensive line that I just said and things like that, he can catch the football as well. He can take it out. He can break tackles sometimes. And did you see that stiff arm last week on Josh Norman? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm watching it. I'm like, okay, it's a flag, whatever. He's going to run out of bounds. See ya. He's going to be on social media for the next 10 years after that one. So it's unbelievable what he could do. Pure strength. He's got speed. And not to mention, guys, I don't hear him bad in the locker room. I don't hear him out in the media. So when you got a superstar like that who is a great teammate and a leader, it's just the perfect football player all into one. I don't know how he slipped in the draft. Alabama, fantastic year. He goes to Tennessee. They're loving it right now. Derrick Henry, he is balling right now. Big reason why, like Nolan said, Tennessee's one of the best teams in the National Football League.
Oh, and he's worth every penny of that $50 million contract they gave him. They should have probably paid him a bit more than that, but I'm telling you, they're cashing in with him, and they're going to be cashing in for a very long time to come.
And I agree, guys. I mean, that 92-yard touchdown the other night, that just said it all. That was like, whoa, Derrick Henry, he's definitely the guy. So starting off week 7, Thursday night, we've got the Giants versus Eagles. So the Giants managed to get their first win against Washington. So, Luca, what are your predictions for this game?
I don't think I've ever predicted in my life a tie, but I can probably see it happening. Honestly, I just don't know what's going to happen. Eagles are the better football team. I think they are the better team. They have – I know their offensive line is in shambles with all the injuries. I will get mad at any of you if you go the other way, honestly. I just think the Eagles right now, I think they have more talent. They're a Super Bowl winning team. I don't know. They got some pedigree. I don't really know what you want me to say, guys. Both of these teams are just – listen, you look at the Eagles, you look at the Giants, they're still in contention to win this division. So it's obviously a huge game. Probably a game when you looked at the schedule the first time it came out, probably thinking, I could probably skip that Thursday if I wanted to. But, if you're an NFL fan, that's probably the most interesting division right now because a team that's probably 7-9 is going to make the playoffs. So you just want to see, which best team is the best in the worst division I've probably seen in my life. Honestly, watching this season go down, it's unbelievable. You saw the Cowboys last night, Chantal. You were probably happy, but they look like a mess. Washington, they have been a mess. They don't even have a name, so let's just start there. And then the Giants versus the Eagles. I'm going with the Eagles in this one. I think it's going to be pretty low. Not really low scoring. I'm going to go 21-17. Mm-hmm. I just think Philly and Doug Peterson, just a better duo with him and Wentz over Jones and Joe Judge or Jason Garrett, whatever you want to say.
Oh, man. Well, welcome to another Thursday edition of Thursday Night Torture. It's going to be hard to watch this game. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's going to be super hard. I think right now they have the Eagles favored by 3.5 points. The over-under is 44 points. Honestly, guys, I don't even want to watch this game. I don't want to have anything to do with this game. The most I had in this game was Miles Sanders and Zach Ertz. Both of these guys are going to be injured, so they're not even going to be playing in this game. So that takes away from the Eagles' offense that is already anemic. They have players like who Greg Ward and I'm not sure Fulham. I'm not sure his first name because I don't even know him that well. And these guys are putting up points for this team, and they're somehow managing to stay afloat in their trash division. I mean, it's you guys are saying 7 wins could win this division, 6 wins might win this division. The way things are going right now, it's horrible. And we're gonna look over at the New York Giants side. My guys over there, they're not doing so well. I mean, Daniel Jones, he's had 18 starts, and in 17 of them, he's had a turnover. Like, that's not good as a quarterback. You're turning over the ball every time you're out there except for once. And he leads the team in rushing right now. Man, like, these are 2 dumpster fires just colliding with each other in the middle of a street. And I don't even care who really wins this game, honestly. Looking at it, I don't care who wins that division, to say it again. But I think that Philly's the better-looking team. I think they have a stronger defense if we're looking at the 2 defense. So I'm going to give them the edge on the defensive side. And I think Philly might pull it off by a little bit of their chins, 27-20. I still expect it to be a little bit of a battle between the 2 division rivals. But, yeah, it's not much of a game that I even want to watch or even want to think about.
Yeah, it's going to be an ugly game. I do think it's actually going to be close because, how banged up the Eagles are. You think about Miles Sanders, who had a pretty good game last week. He's not going to be there. You're relying on Boston Scott. How much can he do? Losing Zach Ertz, it seems like a lot, but they have a really good backup tight end in Dallas Goedert. So that kind of helps out a little bit. To me, their O-line's banged up as well. Their defense has really been disappointing all season. I'll take the Eagles just because of quarterback play. I think Carson Wentz will make 1 or 2 more plays than Daniel Jones will. I'm going to say Eagles 24-23 in Thursday night toilet bowl. It's going to be an ugly one.
The NFL knows how to treat us, man. They know how to treat us on Thursday nights. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Well, I'm also in favor of Philly. I think that Philly is going to take this win against the Giants. But back to the Giants for a quick sec. So we've got a couple of quarterbacks, up-and-coming quarterbacks, I should say. Justin Fields from Ohio State and Trey Lance from North Dakota State. So, Nolan, do you think that they should move on from Daniel Jones come draft season?
So let's say I don't think the Giants will be drafting in that number 1 spot. I do think it's the Jets. I almost think it's locked in. The Jets are the worst team in football, and I think the worst team that's remaining on their schedule is Miami, and Miami looks a lot better than they do. So if the Giants are drafting if they can't get Trevor Lawrence, who we know is going to be an absolute superstar and number 1 pick, I wouldn't move on from Daniel Jones quite yet, because I think there's too many issues with this football team to move on from a quarterback who I think has some promise. Yes, the turnovers are bad. Yes, he may make some really questionable decisions. I think he's only had 1 game where the whole entire offensive weapons have been there. Golden Tate's been banged up. Slayton's been banged up. Saquon Barkley's been banged up the last 2 years. Ingram's always banged up. So it's questionable to me to move on this early. Their O-line's still bad. Their defense is terrible. If they can get the offensive lineman Penei Sewell out of Oregon, I would love that. My only thing is, and yes, Justin Fields, I don't know how you guys feel if you guys watch a ton of Ohio State football. What Ohio State quarterback has succeeded in the NFL? What Urban Meyer quarterback has succeeded in the NFL? Who, of course, like Justin Fields, he's a part of that Ohio State system where Ryan Day learned from Urban Meyer. 0. No one. Tim Tebow would be the best, and that's what? He had the 1 playoff win, and he's kind of made a joke of himself, right? So, to me, I don't have enough faith in Ohio State's quarterbacks, their system, to translate to the NFL. Trey Lance, yes, he looks terrific, whatever it was, 42 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in 2019. He had the 1 game here, and with the pandemic, it was sort of like a showcase game, and he completed less than 50% of his passes. So if I'm the Giants, I'm not moving on from Daniel Jones quite yet. I think you need to surround him with some talent up front. Yes, they got Andrew Thomas, 4th overall, I believe, this year. Grab another offensive lineman or grab someone who's going to scare opponents' offense, right? Grab someone on the defensive end, or like someone who can rush and just dominate your opponent's offensive line, because right now they can't do anything. I don't think the solution is getting rid of the quarterback right now unless you get Lawrence.
I like Daniel Jones. I think he's first off, he's way better than I think a lot of us expected. I mean, Tatum at 6 went to Duke. It's a basketball school. Let's be real. Take that guy that high, number 6, probably could have got him at 17, and their other pick probably could have got him in round 2. But, there's always some executive that comes out and says, hey, I like this kid. And the whole NFL is like, you know what, I like him too. And so he rises up the draft boards just like Trubisky did. And we all know how that turned out. But I do think Daniel Jones is a good fit in this offense. I've seen him make some really big throws, and there's some promise there in New York. Now, being said that, can you blame the coaching staff? I don't know, right? He's still a young kid. This is his, second offensive coordinator in as many years, his second head coach in as many years. So you just got to have patience. And New York, of course, they've been waiting for a very long time, right? 2014 had a pretty good year, breakout year with Odell. Get bounced by Green Bay like they were no problem. But they're still a far young team, and they're a team that's a couple years down the road from competing. Now, their division does give them a favor because they're going to maybe think that they're better than they actually are. But I agree with what you said, Nolan. I'd take another offensive tackle. I don't think you need to push the gun over unless you're getting a guy like Trevor Lawrence. Now, Trevor Lawrence is there and the Giants have a number 1 pick. You got to do some serious thinking here. It's kind of like, and I'm not going to compare Kyler Murray to Trevor Lawrence, but it's like Arizona, right? They took Josh Rosen the year before. You have number 1, you have Kyler Murray. Okay, I'm probably going to have to take Kyler Murray, and it turns out to be a pretty good pick so far. So I like Daniel Jones. If I'm the Giants, I'm going to keep him for now, take another offensive tackle. But no, I wouldn't go for Fields or Lance when there's not a lot of record on them just yet.
So yeah, I'm gonna agree with both of you guys for sure. I think that Danny Dimes should just stay in that position there over QB and keep rolling with them, like you guys said, and look for some offensive tackles in there or like offensive linemen to get yourself situated to improve that line and protect him. That would be because like I said, he's their leading rusher. The reason why is because he's having to run from a lot of men chasing him down. That's why he's the leading rusher. Don't get it twisted. There's very little protection there. So I'm going to sit back. I'm going to look at Lawrence. I'm going to look at Fields. I'm going to look at Lance. I don't think there's any shot that they get Lawrence. I think, like Nolan said, Lawrence is probably going to end up going to the Jets and having to deal with that situation. I mean, it's great to be in New York, but we're going to see how that goes. I just hope for his grace, Adam Gase isn't there. I hope.
Oh,
I pray
God.
for you, Trevor Lawrence. I pray for you. I pray for you, man. Okay, but look at it now. So it's going to be between Fields and Lance when we really break down to it. I was looking at some of their game tape just a couple of days ago, just, warming up. There's not much stuff from this year. Honestly, Fields hasn't even seen the field this season. He's going to play it this weekend, I think, against Nebraska. And then from Lance, I think he had a quick game, a 1-game season where he came out, he had 100-something yards, a couple touchdowns. He wasn't really doing it with his arm. He was more so doing it with his leg. But if we look back at their tape from last season, my, oh my, both those boys, they can play that quarterback position the exact way that the NFL is skewing right now. So it could be interesting to see where either one of them go. But the thing is, I don't think New York's going to be in that position. I could see Washington being in a better position to grab one of those quarterbacks before the Giants can get those quarterbacks. And they're in the same division. So like you guys have said, if the Giants are there and you have a chance, unless it's at number 1 to get Lawrence, I think you guys should just sit back, get yourself an offensive lineman, and shore up that line for Danny Dimes to throw that ball.
Okay, wow. So, yeah, great points, guys. I mean, when it comes to the Giants, like I have really mixed views about how well they're really going to do this season. I think we'll just have to see as it all plays out. I'm glad they finally got on the board with a win, but still, I'm really not sure at all. So this is going to bring us now to our top 5 teams after week 6, heading into week 7. So I'm going to get us started, and my roster is none like you guys have ever going to see until today.
Here we go.
This was a really, really hard week for me. We had so many great matchups, and then a couple of teams, a couple of my go-to teams were on a bye. So Tampa Bay made it on my roster at number 5. Mm-hmm. They just played such a great game that I wanted to give them that recognition. So they're on their number 5. Number 4, I have the Chicago Bears. They have been playing very consistent, and they're doing a lot better than what I had anticipated for them this season. Then at number 3, I still have Baltimore. They have not moved from this spot. And it's because they keep winning games, but they're not doing enough for me to move them up. And because they're not losing, I can't move them down. So they're just kind of really stuck at number 3. Then number 2, I have Tennessee and Pittsburgh tied. I could not pick between those teams. I just couldn't pick between them. So they're tied for number 2. And honestly, this is one game that I'm really looking forward to seeing this coming week. Yeah. Like, I can't wait to see them play each other. And then number 1, I've got Kansas City. They're back on top for me. They had a great win. And, they played great. So they're number 1.
Okay, so another team on the bye. Seattle gets the boot. All right. Okay.
I just wanted to give recognition to the teams that played. So I still think Seattle's a great team, and I'm sure they're gonna, be back on my list next week. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, I'm gonna be pretty quick with this one. Number 5, Baltimore. Kept them off my list for a long time. I just think right now it's between Baltimore and Green Bay. I think Baltimore is a better team, plain and simple. I just like their team better. I think defensively and offensively, they're a better team. Number 4, Kansas City. Kansas City, they got the big win against Buffalo, moved down from 5 to 4 on my list because of the 3 teams ahead of them, starting with Tennessee. They're an undefeated team, guys. We talked about Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, MVP caliber season, and that defense, they get stops when they need to. Tennessee, Pittsburgh, that's going to be the game of the week, in my opinion. Number 2, Pittsburgh. They beat down on the Cleveland Browns. Back to what you said, Steven. Baker Mayfield, I don't know. Maybe you're going to start to flip over. He's not looking so well. Didn't look great in that game. Pittsburgh's defense is for real. Ben Roethlisberger is making all the difference for that team this season. Chase Claypool, what a stud he is. And number 1, I got Seattle still. They didn't play, and it would be, I think, kind of criminal, sorry, Chantel, but to move them down just because they didn't play. They're still the best team. I got Seattle at 1. That's my top 5.
All right, so let me make it quick for y'all. Not really going to go in deep, but number 5, I got the Baltimore Ravens. Just feel like they're playing at that point where they're trying to elevate their game. Don't think they're quite there yet, but they got to push forward. That division's kind of tough. Pittsburgh's going to be a challenge for them. And number 4, I got the Tennessee Titans. Came out, did what you guys had to do. Big win against Houston in overtime. Love seeing it. I think you guys are moving the ball. I think that they're great. Their defense is playing at a level that's good enough to keep them where they are. And their offense, Tannehill, he's looking like a great QB out there. So they're number 4 for me. Number 3, I got the Kansas City Chiefs. Big win this week. No sweat off anyone's shoulders. They really just came out, handled their business, and did what they had to do. So I got them at number 3. And number 2, I had to move the Seattle Seahawks down from number 1 from last week, just because, not because they didn't play this week, but just because I feel like the Pittsburgh Steelers came out and really did what they had to do. I just feel like that team on both sides of the ball is amazing. I'm seeing guys like Deontay Johnson injured, but it doesn't matter. You have Chase Claypool step in, and he's become almost that number 1 wide receiver. Where's Juju? He doesn't really exist anymore. Ben's found a new favorite target. And that defense, I can't even start talking about that defense. Those guys are scary top to bottom. So just know Pittsburgh, number 1 right now. Hold it down.
All right, I'll be quick, too. I have a similar list to you, Steven. So 5, actually, I'm going to put the Buccaneers. Big win against the Packers. I'm not ready to put the Ravens back in, and I'm waiting for that Week 8 contest against the Steelers. That's where I'm going to decide if I move them back up or whether I, kind of leave them out of that top 5. 4, I'm going to put Tennessee. I think I had them at 3 last week. Houston's offense has looked really bad all season, and Tennessee made them look really, really good. And I know that's kind of weird to say because Deshaun Watson's so talented, but Tennessee's defense scared me. And again, Taylor Lewan, he's going to be out for the year of torn ACL. How far can this team go? Basically relying on Tannehill and, of course, Derrick Henry. 3, Kansas City Chiefs. They look great against Buffalo in the rain. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was terrific once again. 2, I got roasted for putting the Packers at number 1 when they had a bye. So I'm moving the Seahawks down. And the reason for that, the steel curtain, man. The Pittsburgh Steelers look phenomenal. That defense, number 1 in football. Big Ben looks great. James Conner, I wasn't sold on him, but he looks solid right now. And the receivers, Juju's not even lighting it up, but the other guys are. That's my top 5.
Bye teams cannot be number 1s. I'm telling you. It can't happen. Unless all the teams around them lose, it can't happen.
Yeah, I know, but it's just hard to bring them down. I mean, what do? They got to buy. It's like, okay, you know what? Yeah, you didn't play good this week. Get them out of here. I get what you're saying.
All right. All right. So there we have it. Our top 5 picks heading into week 7. That concludes our episode for today. Thank you so much for joining us on Touchdown with True Sports, brought to you by Pickups, your everything on demand delivery app. We'll see you next week.